Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of Best Bets. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, joined as always by Newsday's NFL pick columnist Joe Manniello. Joe, how are you?
Doing good, Matt. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We'll take it last week, Joe. None of us had a losing week, right at 500. 2-2-1 for the both of us. So much needed after a brutal performance back in week 7.
Feels like 2-2-1 feels like 5-0.
Exactly. So we will absolutely take it. We got 5 games to get into. We're going to do things a little bit differently this week. There's so many good games on the slate. Instead of having just one game of the week and a best bet and upset, we'll do the 3 best games after we do the New York locals. So the New York Giants will start. They travel to Las Vegas to take on the Vegas Raiders. What's your feel for this game?
It's such a weird game. You got the Giants off that demoralizing loss against the Jets. They should have won that game. And then you got the Raiders, who just fired the coach, the GM, and Jimmy G got benched. So it's a weird spot. Like the Giants, you would think is a bigger mess, but in this game, they're not the biggest mess. And I kind of like the Giants in this game. Daniel Jones is going to play. Also, that's kind of weird how all of a sudden he's able to play with it. It sounded as if he wasn't going to be able to play for a few weeks, maybe miss the season. Now he's playing. But I don't know. I just feel like the Raiders are so bad. They've only scored 20 points once all season. And the way the Giants defense is playing, I like this matchup for the Giants. I have them winning like 24-17 kind of game, maybe more low scoring, but I think it'll be a nice game for Saquon Barkley. I think Jones, they'll play it safe, quick passes, and try not to get him sacked. One hit from Max Crosby, it could be bad news for Jones. But I think Dable will have a smart plan. You're going up against Antonio Pierce, a great linebacker, but who knows what to expect from him as a coach. I just feel like the Raiders are a complete mess, and Aiden O'Connell didn't play poorly when he started earlier in the year. They had a chance to beat the Chargers. I just like the spot for the Giants. It's rare when they have an opponent that has more issues than them. So I think the way the defense is playing, the way Kayvon Thibodeau is playing, I think they make enough stops to get a road win. So Giants plus 1.5 outright.
There we go. I might be overthinking this one, Joe, but I'm going to go with the Raiders minus 1.5, and I'll tell you why. Normally, I hate going with a team that's in such disarray like this, but I'm going to make a comparison to the Indianapolis Colts last year. They're a team that looked like they were in complete disarray. They take Jeff Saturday off the ESPN set. They put him behind the headset. He's coaching the team, and they won their first game. And then they lost and lost out the rest of the season. He did his job in the tank, and they get a high draft pick. They draft their quarterback of the future. But that first game, we always talk about like how a quarterback change or a coaching change midseason could spark a team for a week. I don't know. I think this has weird game written all over it. I think it could be an ugly, sloppy, like 16-13 kind of game. And Antonio Pierce going up against his former team and beating his former team that he won a Super Bowl with as the head coach now. What a story that would be. So not that I love this Raiders team. I don't. I think they are on their way to having a pretty rough season. And yes, the Giants defense has played spectacular the last few weeks. They, as you mentioned, they should have won that game last week against the New York Jets. But I think we get a weird one with the Raiders getting some juice off of a weird week. New GM, new coach, changing up the vibes there for at least just this week.
I think last year the Colts, that first game, I'm pretty sure it was against the Raiders.
It was. It was. So now it's the inverse. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we'll see what happens there out in Vegas. For the New York Jets, they are hosting the Chargers on Monday Night Football. They are 3.5-point dogs in this game. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I think the spread is off. I mean, that means that if this game was in L.A., it would be 6 points the other way. So the Chargers would be favored by 9 points over the Jets. The Jets aren't better than the Bears. I think the spread is wrong. I think the Chargers are kind of like a popular team because they have the, good-looking, young, strong-arm quarterback who's on commercials, and the next guy, the next Mahomes, even though he's not that good, but as good as Mahomes. So, definitely one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. But the Chargers, to me, are one of the most overrated teams. They always have injuries. They always have poor coaching. They blow games. And, last week I was wrong to pick the Bears, I guess. But I don't know. I just don't like the Chargers in this spot. I think this is the Jets. It's all there for them. They're 4-3. They got that miracle win against the Giants. Next week they play the Raiders. So if they win this game, they're going to be 6-3 next week, and then have a real shot at the wild card. And Aaron Rodgers coming back. It's all there for the Jets. I think they're going to win this game. I think the spread is definitely wrong. And Zach Wilson's the ultimate wild card, but it's something about him. Like he seems to play poorly at 1 p.m. at MetLife, but the other games he plays better. Like the perfect example is the Sunday night game against Kansas City. He had the best game of his life. He had 28 career high completions, 28, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did have that fumble late. That was kind of a fluky play. I just feel like he's going to have a big game here. The Chargers are really good against the run. So I think the Jets are actually going to need Wilson to throw the ball. I think Garrett Wilson will have a nice game. And the Jets defense, I mean, it's always the best defense on the field. And I think they'll be in the game. It'll be a close game. Chargers always play close games. Jets have played a lot of close games this year. I think it'll come down to a big play in the fourth quarter. But I like the Jets to win outright. Maybe a 24-20 kind of game, 2017. So give me the Jets +3 outright.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think this is a good spot for this Jets team. I know the offense looks absolutely horrendous right now, but for whatever reason, in prime time this year, Zach Wilson's actually looked pretty good, as you said. And the Jets defense against, really good quarterbacks have made them look sloppy. Allen in week 1, you had Mahomes on that Sunday night game. They turned him over twice, probably should have been 3 times. You had Jalen Hurts throw, a bunch of interceptions and had a fumble. So I think they're going to be able to turn Herbert over in this game. And he's been a little bit more susceptible to the interception this year after, another year where he's kind of banged up and not looking like, the guy we thought he potentially could be with his talent. But I also think the coaching plays a big factor in this game. I think Brandon Staley is one of the worst coaches in football, and they're coming off a nice win against the Bears. They put up a bunch of points, right? So everyone I think is feeling good about this team, but they find ways to lose these tight games every single week. And right now the Jets are winning ugly. There's no denying that they are, they're not playing amazing football, but they're just finding ways to win. And I think we see a very similar game this week, 20-14, something like that, low scoring game yet again. But I think, as you mentioned, the Jets are going to have to throw with Zach Wilson in this game. The Chargers are 32nd in the league, last in the league in passing yards against. On average, They're allowing 297 yards a game. Not saying that Zach's going to go out there and throw for 300. That'd be nice, but even if he could go out there and give you a similar performance to what he did against Kansas City, 230, 240, not turn the ball over, get the ball into the end zone a couple of times, I think that would be enough for the Jets to get this win at home.
Yep.
All right, so we got 3 games of the week, all in different time slots. We'll start with the early game on Sunday. Should be a good one. The Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins. Chiefs slight favorites at 1.5. Who do you like in this game?
Yeah, this is a great game. Could be an AFC Championship preview. It's a Tyreek Hill game, against his old team. That's the main storyline. Tempting to take the Dolphins here because I think Tyreek Hill can go off. But I'm going to take the Chiefs for a big reason is Patrick Mahomes last week, he was supposedly had the flu. It was the flu game, and they lost at Denver. The offense only scored 9 points. First time he's ever lost to Denver. I think it's a great bounce back spot for him. The Dolphins, as we've seen, they dominate teams at home, win by double digits. But when they've had the tough road test, even though this isn't technically a road game, I mean, it's not Miami, so that counts. But they lost at Buffalo by 28. They lost to Philly by 14. So they've shown that they can't hang with the best teams in the NFL. I think they'll hang here. I think this will be a 3-point game either way, probably. Maybe a touchdown, but I'm taking the Chiefs. Mahomes, it's his sixth full NFL season. He's only lost back-to-back games 3 times, which is close to 90 games, I think. So it's hard to see him losing back-to-back games. And we've talked about it multiple times here. The Chiefs' defense has really improved. So I think they'll have. They're not going to stop Hill. He's still going to get his 100-plus yards and a long touchdown, probably 7-8 catches. But I think they'll do enough to slow down the Miami offense to keep them under 30 points. I see like a 30-27 kind of game. I think don't want to bet against Mahomes in this kind of spot. And the defense is much improved, so I think they'll do enough. So, but it should be a great game. So a nice early game in the mornings instead of those bad London games. So I'll take the Chiefs -1.5.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I think this is a good spot for Kansas City, coming off a loss in Denver in a game where the offense just didn't look right, and Patrick Mahomes was sick, and it was noticeable. That offense didn't look the same as it normally did. But to add on to what you were saying, even the Dolphins' 2 losses this year have been against 2 teams that are expected to be playoff teams in the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles, and they didn't look great against either one of those teams. And this is a another spot where they're going up against a team that's a Super Bowl candidate, someone who could go in and win the Super Bowl this year. The Dolphins have done a great job of taking care of business. They've won all the games that they're supposed to, but in the biggest spots, they haven't shown it just yet. I think this is going to be a really fun back and forth, high scoring game. But I just like Kansas City in this one in a slight edge, 33-27. We're in a similar scoring range. I think it's going to go back and forth. Miami will get theirs, but I trust the Chiefs' defense a little bit more than I trust Miami's defense. And as great as Mike McDaniel is, I don't think Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are losing back-to-back games. I think they find a way to get this one done on the neutral site field. Should be a fun one, though. I'm really looking forward to that one. Let's do the Eagles and the Cowboys next. Rivalry, NFC East game. The Eagles slight favorites, field goal favorite, Eagles -3. What's the feel for this one?
Yeah, I think the safe play here is the Eagles. They're home. They're home, right?
Yep, they're home.
And they're home. They found ways to win. They haven't been as dominant as last year. They found ways to win these games. Last week, they, again, got a test from the Commanders, but they won. But I'm going with the Cowboys here. I feel like it's more of a hunch. I just feel like they got embarrassed at San Francisco, 42-10. And then they held on to beat the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Then they had a bye week. And last week they destroyed the Rams, the big plays from the defense. They've been a different team at home, so this is a bit risky taking them on the road here. And the Eagles and, the push and all that stuff, they have all that mojo in Philly. So if they win, obviously I won't be surprised. But this is just a field play. And I think CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, they've been hooking up a lot the last couple of weeks. I think they both have huge games. I think it's a classic NFC East game, down to the wire, high scoring. 30, 34, 31, something like that. I like the Cowboys here. I have a feeling that, when you lose, they suffered so many big losses on the national stage. I feel like it's one of those things where it's just like enough already, and I feel like they're going to rally around that. And, the Eagles, they've had so many games where they could have lost. I mean, they're 7-1. They could have easily lost a few games. I feel like maybe that catches up to them here. But again, it's, they find ways to win. I think Jalen Hurts also got banged up a little bit last week. I'm not sure if he's 100%. But I just feel like it's a good spot for Dallas to finally change the narrative. So give me Dallas +3.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm still going to take the Eagles -3. For me, I think a big thing in this game is that it's in Philadelphia because this Dallas team looks very different on the road. Take away the 40-0 win against the Giants. They did that in week 1. But ever since then, they lost on the road in Arizona. They lost 42-10 on the road in San Francisco. And they barely squeaked by the Chargers on the road. They've looked like a much different, much more dominant team at home. At home against the Jets, 30-10, against New England, 38-3, against the Rams, 43-20. So I do think that this, team, obviously at home, they have a big home field advantage. It's going to be a big difference for them. Philadelphia, that's just, in a way, kind of like the Jets this year where they're winning these tight games or winning ugly in a sense. I think you kind of get just the same recipe. I think, they're not going to run away with it. All these games have been close. It's been fun back and forth games, but at the end of the day, it just feels like Philadelphia finds ways to win these games and the Dallas Cowboys find ways to lose. Now, they're talented enough to win. There's a ton of talent on both sides of the football for Dallas, but I just trust this Philadelphia team more than I trust Dallas. And I think with it only being a 3-point spread, if it was a little bit higher, maybe I start to a point or point and a half higher. I start thinking about the Cowboys a little bit, but I think worst case scenario we're looking at a push because I think it'll be a tight game. But I'll go 27-23 Eagles win at home in this NFC East matchup. Last one should be a fun one as well. The Buffalo Bills travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. They are favored. They, being the Bengals, are favored at home by 1.5 points. Who do you like in this one?
All right, this is my best bet of the week. I love the Bengals. To me, what we've seen the last few weeks with the Bengals, I feel like they're in a trajectory now to do what they did last year: start slow, get back, and make a run for the Super Bowl. Actually, just I wrote my column, doing a new approach with my column. It's not just writing every game. We're also doing parlay bets and anytime touchdown scores and future bets. So it's going to be a different look in the Friday paper and online Thursday night. But one of the things is looking to the future kind of bet. And the Bengals are 17-1 to win the Super Bowl. Before the year, they were 10-1. I think you're getting great value now after that slow start. I like them a lot this week. They beat the Bills last year at Buffalo in the snow in the playoffs, divisional round 27-10. And if you look at Joe Burrow, I mean, last week it looked like Joe Montana, 28 for 32, 3 touchdowns. He had 19 straight completions at one point. They dominated the 49ers, 31-17. He looks 100% healthy, and I just don't see the Bills stopping them. The Bills have key defenders out, Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano, among others. And the Bills, to me, I mean, Josh Allen's great. They got a good coach in McDermott, good receiving Diggs. But to me, they're always like not overrated, but they're one of those teams where you know they're going to be in the playoffs, but I feel like deep down you know they're not going to make it because they just never win those big games. I just don't see them winning this game. I think Cincinnati has all the mojo right now. Buffalo's looked off since that lost to the Jaguars. They should have lost to the Giants. Something's not right with them. So I think the Bengals you don't want to bet against them right now. I don't see anyone on the Bills stopping Jamar Chase. And the way Burrow's playing, I think the Bengals are going to go on a run here. And so we go down to the wire with them and the Ravens for the division. So give me the Bengals -1.5. Best bet, something like 31-24.
Yeah, I agree with you this week. I think the Bengals are a really good play. I'm going to take them -1.5. They are rolling right now, winning 3 in a row. Burrow looks like whatever was nagging him earlier in the season with that injury, that is completely gone. He was absolutely fantastic against a great 49ers defense. And the last 4 weeks, the Buffalo Bills have looked terrible. They're 2-2 over that span, but the win was a 14-9 win over the Giants in a game they probably should have lost at home. And then they barely squeaked by Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay almost completes a Hail Mary at the end of the game. So even their 2 wins, they haven't looked right. They lost to New England on the road. I think this is a different team on the road. They lost to the Jets on the road. Really, their only great road performance was against Washington, where they won 37-3. So I don't know. All the mojo is on the Bengals side. They did this last year. They started slow, and they go on this run. They rattle off a bunch of wins in a row. And I agree with you. I think they're going to go on a run here and get themselves. I know the Baltimore right now is leading that division. I think we'll blink in 4 weeks. It's going to be the Bengals up there and Baltimore drop into a wild card spot. But I think with just how well Joe Burrow's playing right now, and you mentioned the 2 key injuries on defense for the Bills. That defense is not the same without Matt Milano and White. It is very, very evident that is a different unit without those 2 guys in there. And I think Cincinnati take care of business. I'll go 30-20. The Bengals win by 10 in this one. So we'll run through these real quick. 5 picks. We got the Raiders and the Giants. I'm on the Raiders -1.5. Joe is on the Giants +1.5. Both on the Jets +3.5 at home against the Chargers on Monday night. Games of the week: Chiefs -1.5 against the Miami Dolphins. Both Joe and I like the Chiefs. Eagles, Cowboys, NFC East rivalry. I'm taking the Eagles -3. Joe is going with the Cowboys +3. And both Joe and I are on the Bengals -1.5 at home against the Bills. Joe, appreciate you joining me as always, and we'll talk again next week.
All right, Matt. Thank you.